Welcome aboard! We will be your guides during this magical journey into the movies. It's the perfect job for us because we love the movies. It's showtime! Ready when you are, CB!
Action!
Welcome to Monoreel Radio episode number 370. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are here to review and discuss The Air Up There as we wrap up Monoreel Radio's version of March Madness 2026. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. When I pitched this film for the purpose of the theming of this month, not only had you not seen this movie, you hadn't even heard of this film.
No, had never heard of it, had no idea that Kevin Bacon was in it. I was kind of like, oh, cool, we get to discuss him in another capacity besides playing his abducted self in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, the legendary Kevin Bacon.
The legendary, excuse me.
So here's my history with this movie. I did not see it in the theaters. I remember wanting to see it because, you know, it's 1994. Disney at this point has had a reasonable run of sports films. And I was a marginal basketball fan, not a huge basketball fan, but I remember the trailer looked really good. I didn't see it in theaters. It was on HBO. It was on, like, after my bedtime, so I recorded it on VHS, and I think I watched it once, and then my dad taped over it because there was something else he wanted to watch.
Oh, no.
So this was basically me going in on a blind. The most I remembered was Kevin Bacon went to Africa to recruit a college basketball player. That is literally as far as I could remember. I didn't remember any of the subplot. I didn't remember anybody's name. That was really all I remembered about it.
Well, it's kind of funny, though, because it's just as hard to find now. I mean, granted, okay, back then you're talking about the days of VHS. Things were not as easily accessible as they are now, but I think it's worth noting this was not on Disney Plus. We actually rented it on Amazon Prime at the time of this recording. I think that's also going to be part of the discussion, though, is why I personally don't think we will ever see this on Disney Plus.
Well, does this deserve a spot on Disney Plus? Has the film aged well, and where do we sort of put it in regards to the other films that we talked about this month? That, on top of many other things, is what we are here to discuss today.
This episode is sponsored by Where in the Park. Our friends at Where in the Park make seek and find card games designed to play in the theme parks and turn your day into an interactive adventure. Game packs come with a deck of cards, each with an image on it that is hidden somewhere in the theming of the park, helping you to discover details you've probably walked past 100 times. Where in the Park game packs will spark curiosity, encourage connection, and make every visit to the parks even more memorable. Visit monoreelradio.com and click on our affiliate link to purchase your game packs at a discount.
Jimmy Dolan is an assistant coach at his alma mater, St. Joseph's State, where he had previously blown out his knee but won the 1981 national championship. After he costs his team their most highly touted prospect, head coach Ray Fox indicates that he may have to reconsider his successor as he thinks that Jimmy is selfish. At the school's alumni gala that evening, they show a video of a church in Kenya that the alumni have helped fund. In the background is a basketball court and a player that Jimmy believes is a star in the making. Ray Fox also announces that he is going to retire at the end of the year and will name his successor within 2 weeks. In an attempt to salvage his opportunity and help St. Joseph's, Jimmy blows off a recruiting trip to Boise, Idaho, and instead heads to Kenya to find Wanabe and his future star player. Wanabe is in a remote area and is laughed at, or I should say that Jimmy is laughed at for wanting to go there. He meets Nyaga, a rich man who is preparing to buy Wanabe, a land that is rich in copper. Jimmy finds Wanabe and meets Sala, and this is the young player, and is immediately taken by his size and pure athleticism. However, Sala isn't willing to commit to going to St. Joe's due to his commitment to his tribe in Wanabe, as he is the next in line to be the chief. His father is the current chief. Jimmy speaks to Sala's father, who is unwilling to allow his son to go as the Wanabe face the incoming hardships led by Nyaga. Sala tells Jimmy that he wants to go to St. Joseph's, but his father won't listen to an outsider, so Jimmy promises to acclimate himself to tribe life and work with the Wanabe to show how much he believes in Sala. Together, Jimmy and the Wanabe work together, and Jimmy shows them how to play fundamental basketball. Jimmy struggles not only with the chief, but also with Sister Susan, a missionary who does not trust Jimmy and cares deeply for the people of Wanabe. Sala tells Jimmy that a year prior, Niaga attacked the village and freed the cattle that the tribe relies upon as a means of driving them out to grab the land. Jimmy sells his camcorder to a pawn shop to buy cattle for the tribe as a sign of good faith. We also meet Sala's brother, Halawi, who previously tried to make a deal behind their father's back. The chief banished Halawi and is now working for Niaga. Despite the gift, the chief still won't let his son go to St. Joe's, so Jimmy sends Ray a tape of Sala, and Ray immediately sends Jimmy cash to return to St. Joseph's with Sala. That night, a wedding is held for Sala's sister, but the celebration is short-lived as Niaga's men free the cattle that have been recently purchased and firebomb the homes in the village. The next day, the chief confronts Niaga, and Niaga insinuates that Jimmy should have recruited one of his players instead of going to Wanabe. Well, the Wanabe challenged the Mingori, which is the village that Niaga is from, to a basketball game. They wager their land against the cattle that Niaga had stolen and asks Jimmy to coach the team. Jimmy is hesitant to do so, but Sala tells him that if they win, he will go to St. Joseph's. After the Wanabe point guard is injured during practice, it is suggested that Jimmy take his place. However, Jimmy isn't Wanabe, so he goes on a journey to become a member of the tribe. And he eventually does. On the day of the game, the Mingori arrive, and as the game remains close, Niaga instructs his team to target Jimmy's compromised knee and knock him out of the game. With Jimmy out, Halawi returns to the Wanabe, and he turns his back on Niaga and plays for his native brothers, his native tribe. Together, he and his brother lead the Wanabe to victory, banishing Niaga from the land for life, restoring their cattle, and sending Sala to St. Joe's with the new head coach of the Bulls, Jimmy Dolan.
So it's interesting that you said what you remembered most was that the legendary Kevin Bacon is sent to Africa to recruit basketball players.
Yeah.
Because that is not at all how this movie is set up. And coming in on a total blind and not having seen the trailer, I thought it was so interesting compared to everything else that we've watched this month that we were going to get to see a little bit more of the business end of it. And I thought it was so compelling to have this young character that the school is trying to woo to play for them, because we sort of saw that in Glory Road where they're going to recruit the players, but it's for totally different reasons. Right. And the players' motivations are obviously completely different. So now you've got this really egotistical kid that's saying this basketball program is only as good as the deal I get.
Right.
I'm thinking that we're going on the journey of this kid having to prove that he's not a jerk and he loves the game enough to become a part of this team. No, this was like the equivalent of the setup in Mighty Ducks where Gordon Bombay is inheriting this team as a community service because he's drunk driving. It just starts down one path and goes left.
See, and I really like how this movie starts because I think the pitch to recruit this kid, it's a really great way to develop Jimmy as a character for so many reasons. We know that he's a legend in the school. We know that he blew his knee out. We know that the consolation for not being able to go to the NBA because of his injury was becoming a coach. He's being groomed. But we also see that he takes the program very seriously. He doesn't want egotistical kids. He doesn't care about the kid's stat sheet. He just wants to see if he can coach the kid. Whereas the rest of the athletic department, they really just care about how much they have invested in this kid. how many lobster dinners, 2 trips to Disney World, 37 sweatshirts. It's actually a really interesting look into the recruiting process, and that they have documentation of how much money they've already spent on this kid. And this is, remember something, folks, this movie came out in 1994. This is 30 years before NIL was even a thing. That's commonplace now. But the fact that the kid is concerned with, I want to be a guaranteed starter. How many nationally televised games am I going to get? I need the NBA scouts to see me. Like, it's such an interesting look into how they document how much they put into the process.
And that's what I thought we were going to get throughout the rest of this film. It's such a great bait and switch because you think Buddy is the main character. You think this is going to be all about his journey joining this team. And it's not at all. It immediately shifts over to Jimmy Dolan. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board. Where is this going? What I also really appreciate is that once he loses Buddy, it's Jimmy's idea to go to Africa to recruit Saleh. That didn't come from the coach as like a test of see if you can get him and then you can have my job and get promoted.
Right. And in a great bit of dialogue, it's such a little line. They have their blow up. Ray Fox has the blow up with Jimmy, right? Jimmy sees the tape. By pure happenstance, he sees the tape. As they're looking at the video of the church that they're funding, right, in Kenya. And it's just somebody he sees in the background. But he goes to Ray, he goes to the other coach, and he said, I went to whatever it was, the physics department or whatever it was, and I gave it to a kid, and he analyzed the sunlight, the angle, the average height of Father O'Hara, who's
the depth of field.
The depth of field, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, this kid is at least 6'8", and Buddy, who they lost, was 6'8", so he's like, I found our big man. Let's go recruit him. And instead, he gets handed a plane ticket to Boise, and he goes, that's a D tournament. That's not my territory. And Ray goes, change your plans. It's such a great dig. It's such a great line because you see how fractured their relationship is. And it throws another wrench in the plan here because, you know, the movie, it's a sports movie that Disney made, so it's gonna have a predictable ending. Let's just call it what it is. But it does enough to throw you off course where you believe that perhaps Jimmy isn't going to be able to salvage this.
Well, and see, that's what I was hoping for, was a little bit more of his decision to turn his back on what he was asked to do, because he obviously doesn't go to Boise. The next shot that we see is the bus driving through Africa. But that's it. It's kind of a jarring cut. And I mean, that's the point, right? They are just supposed to drop us in. But we don't know this character enough yet to see why he was willing to throw it all away, so to speak. Or we don't know what the consequences are of him not going to Boise. We just know he did what he wanted.
Oh, but see, but I don't agree with that, because I feel like we know exactly who this character is after the first botched recruiting effort.
Well, I mean,
he's going to fly by the seat of his pants. He's going to do what he wants to do, and he doesn't care about the consequences.
Right. Well, this develops him in that way because he just made the choice. But who's to say, you know, is he here on his own dime, on the school's dime? Like, how do they even... And I guess that's part of the point, too. They don't know where he is. They don't know until he sends the videotape back. But I just wish that we had, story-wise, a little bit more stakes in place of, other than he wants to pursue this and he needs Saleh as his redemption, there's another person vying for the role of coach. So this was a big risk, obviously big reward, but there's nothing to say that coach would be like, no, you didn't follow orders, and while you were away, we promoted this other guy. Right.
But he's obviously willing to just do whatever it takes. That's what we know about him. But to your point, they drop us into Africa. Beautifully shot, by the way.
Really, really well shot. Yeah. It's one of the few things that this film has going for it.
And then you get introduced to Nyaga. So he shows up. Now, they're in Mingori, and it is what you expect it to be. It's dirt roads. It's old concrete buildings. It's it's not state of the art at all. And here comes Niaga in a Mercedes.
Right. It's a bit more. He is responsible for urbanizing Mingori, really. Right. And this is about where the film lost me. And I went, oh, this is why it's not on Disney Plus. He just assumes that Jimmy is there for one of his players. And instead of saying, don't worry about going to Wanabe, I've got this great player right here. He's tall, he's athletic, he knows the game, da-da-da-da-da. And trying to persuade Jimmy to recruit him for the player's benefit because he genuinely wants to see him do better. You know, it works for character development because it immediately sets up Niaga as oh gosh, that's going to happen how many times because of Karate Kid. It immediately sets up Niaga as a shyster. But where this becomes very problematic is that he is willing to make a trade. And the implication is also that he is selling one of his own. And I went, oh boy, this is really, really bad messaging here, because the film then sort of doubles down on this idea of these African tribes or villages or towns, whatever you want to call them, because there are certain areas that are more urbanized.
Right.
It is sending the message of they're going to tear each other down and pick each other off unless the white man can come in and save them. And they set that up in the scene right here. And they just keep doubling down on it throughout the course of the movie. And I was like, oh, gosh, this is bad.
I don't agree with your assessment of that. Blood diamonds are a thing. So that's real. And that's happening over there right now. That happens there every day. So the fact of the matter is, I see what you're trying to imply.
I'm not trying. I'm saying it flat out.
And I'm saying this is the reality of what a lot of these people deal with every single day, specifically the ones that are in the remote locations that are wearing the Super Bowl champion shirts of teams that never won the Super Bowl because they're relying on clothing donations and missionaries. I mean, that's really what they're spotlighting here more than anything else.
I disagree, because that's where I'm saying they double down on it, because Jimmy's whole pitch is, don't you want better for yourself? And I can give you this and I can give you that, just assuming that they want that this tribe who is upholding their culture and their values and specifically steering away from Western culture, he just assumes that they want the American dream.
But mind you, this is after he's already met Niaga, who flat out tells him, I'm buying Wanabe. Because remember, when Jimmy gets there, Niaga doesn't realize that he's there for a basketball player. He says, oh good, I'm looking for another investor because those fields are rich with copper. So he already laid the groundwork that he's got his hands on it, he's gonna get it, he doesn't care what it takes, and we can get rich together.
Right, and they could have just left it at that. It would have established him as a shisty character because, he's such a jolly guy and a very persuasive speaker. So you would have set all of that up without him having to trade one of his own.
Be that as it may, let's get to Wanabe. Father O'Hara could not be less interested in helping anybody. He wants to play bingo, and then he wants to leave. He wants to go do his service at sunset 53 kilometers away, but Jimmy is there to recruit one of the Wanabe to get an education, right? Father O'Hara couldn't care less. He's like,
This is a great setup, because I thought, between Mingori and Wanabe, they were going to really play up that fish out of water or try to play it for comedy that Jimmy has to get from the town to the village. Like, I really thought we were going to see him like chased by a lion or something, and that they were really going to steer into that, because up until this point, the only fish out of water element that we get is that he just assumes there's a language barrier, which keeps getting thrown in his face. That's the funny part. Like, the subtitles on the bus are fantastic. The bus station saying the last one left in 1974.
Yeah.
Like, they just keep taking shots at him, which is really, really great. So he thinks that Father O'Hara is going to be his savior, so to speak, because he's going to be the interpreter. He's going to get in, get out quick, get him what he wants. And, you know, there's going to be very minimal interactions. So I love that when we meet Father O'Hara, he's in the church, but calling bingo. I love that everybody loves to gamble here, which is really funny. And he bounces immediately. Could not be less interested in helping out.
I like when we meet Sala. I like the joke that he plays on Jimmy, where he pretends like, I can dunk, but that's all I can do. I can dunk because I'm tall, and that's about as far as it goes. And he goes, I played a good joke on you. The whole thing is really funny. It's
such a great fake out, because he knows that that Jimmy has come all of this way to see him. But he's faking that he can't dribble. He overshoots the net. Like, it's absolutely incredible. And it just goes to show, I mean, like, it's great character development, because right away, you know, he's funny. He's got a sense of humor, but that he can also outsmart people.
He's so charming. It's ridiculous.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And this is another instance where the movie kind of takes you in one direction and then pivots you immediately. You think now Jimmy's going to have to teach him fundamental basketball before bringing him back to St. Joe's, and that's not the case at all. It's just the whole thing's a big gag. And I love the line that Sala delivers to him where he said, "Are you sad, Jimmy Dolan?" And he's like, "A little." And he's like, "Are you disappointed?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why?" He's like, "Well, I thought you could play." And Sala says to him, "Who told you I could play?" And Jimmy goes, "I told myself." Like, I know it's a quick line, but I just love the dialogue between the two of them here.
Well, I think that's also why Saleh sort of entertains him a little bit, because now he realizes he's done his homework. Like, how did this person find out about me? You know, if not through word of mouth, he recognizes that Jimmy has looked into him.
Right. Now you start really delving into the subplot between the chief and Niaga, right? Because we find out that Salah's not going to go. He's not going to leave. He's next in line to be chief. Jimmy talks to the chief, and we find out that there is a long history here, and I really like where this is going.
I also love the line, and this is where the humor is really, really great. They give him an African phrase that sort of means they'll consider it, but it's really a way of telling somebody off, because the translation is, "I will consider it for eternity." Right. Which means you're never going to get an answer.
They said it's our way of saying no without insulting you by saying no.
It's great.
While this is all going on, we're also getting introduced to Sister Susan. I have to be honest with you, I don't think this character is necessary.
No.
I don't think you need a romantic interest for Jimmy. I don't buy them as a romantic interest.
No.
And he already has enough adversaries. He didn't need another one.
I think it's okay in the sense of, you know, it builds out the world. I believe that you would also have nuns there with Father O'Hara.
Yeah.
So for that, and for being another antagonist, I think it's fine. I just wish that they left all romance out of it, because nothing's ever going to happen between them. But I like that she keeps putting him down and surprising him in certain ways, like with some of the things that she says, and he would say, "Is that allowed, sister?" And she's, "Only when I really mean it." So for comedy and for putting him in his place anytime he tries to get ahead, it works, but they just should have left it there.
as you pointed out earlier, the jokes keep going in Jimmy's direction because now all of a sudden half of the tribe can speak fluent English, which they've obviously learned because Father O'Hara is there and because Sister Susan is there. And he starts teaching them all how to play fundamental basketball. And this is where you really get the backstory from Sallah in regards to exactly what has happened. All we know is that Niaga's trying to land grab them because the father, the chief, won't sell the land to him. And this is where Sallah tells him, I want to go to St. Joseph's. My father says I'm not ready to lead, so I want to go and learn to lead. I want to get an education. I can't because Niaga has been here before and he freed all of our cattle. It shows just how low Niaga is willing to stoop, and it's not just, I'm going to get that money, I'm going to get that, it's not that I'm going to get that oil, I need the land, that you've seen so many times. I mean, This guy is ruthless, but he's such an interesting character because, like you said, he's a silver-tongued devil is exactly what he is.
Yeah.
And so, but he's fun. He's a fun villain.
That's the thing, because he's so jovial. He's so much fun to watch. Like, the performance is incredible.
Yeah.
The actor is just so talented. But you're right. I really love how many layers are working in this scene, because Saleh agrees to go to St. Joseph's, but not because of everything that Jimmy is dangling in front of him. It's not about the silver spoon. It's about, how can I use this and get an education to benefit my tribe and benefit my people. He wants to bring it back for them, especially because his brother dropped that ball. This is where we also learn that the brother has double-crossed the tribe and he was wooed by Niaga. So much happening here that really does deepen the plot.
Yeah, I wondered with the brother, as we get introduced to him here, Halawi. I knew I'd get there. I don't know how much of this I felt that they sort of left it open-ended here. I don't know if he cut a deal with Niaga selfishly because he just wants for himself, or if he did so sort of hoping that in good faith, if he cut a deal with him and if he worked with him, he would just leave the Wanabi alone.
Exactly. It could go either way.
It could go either way, and they never clearly define it. And I think that made for another really interesting character here.
If I had to pick one, I would say maybe it was for the tribe's protection, because Saleh never gave up on him.
Right.
It's not just that he respects his older brother. There's kind of a sadness in the way that he talks about them. There's like a solemnness. So I think that he knows the deeper reason that his brother is with Niagi, and he's sad about it, but beyond just, I miss my brother, I wish we weren't on opposite sides of this, I think it's because he recognizes the real intent.
The other thing that I found very interesting here is we get to this pawn shop, basically is what it is, right? And Jimmy, he's already got the tape that he needs of Sallah. He's already sent it to Jimmy, or to Ray Fox. A simple camcorder, something we could go buy at any store back in the 90s. And to this day, you can just go to any store or go to Amazon, right? And get a camcorder. It's worth so much more there because it's not something they have access to. The fact that he was able to hawk a camcorder and buy 40 cows, bulls, because it's cattle, it's both. But the fact that he's able to buy 40 cows by trading a camcorder, I mean, they weren't cheap in the 90s, but they weren't all that expensive either. They were very run-of-the-mill.
I mean, that's the thing, though. The value is all relative. It's valuable in Mingori because they will use it.
And they don't have access to it.
But it's worthless in Wanabi.
Right.
They don't care.
Right. things start trending in the right direction for Jimmy, and then everything comes crashing down with this wedding scene.
This is rough.
It's brutal. We see the coming of age, joining the tribe, becoming a man moment with Saleh's brother-in-law, soon to be brother-in-law. We see the wedding. It's very joyful. Jimmy is having a great time. And here comes Niaga's men. Motorcycles. They basically start a stampede. They burn the huts and the houses down to the ground. I mean, it's a brutal scene in the best way possible.
Yeah. You specifically see the other player that Niaga was trying to get Jimmy to recruit. You never see the brother. I don't think that he had a hand in this.
You never see him. He's never there, and I think that was really smart. But all of that said now, we get this scene where the chief goes to Niaga to confront him.
Packing heat,
which is, it's funny.
Like,
actually.
What did you trade for that?
But it was actually really funny. And this movie, this is where it feels very 1994, right? This wager comes seemingly out of nowhere. Our 5 against your 5. It may be silly. It may be cliche. It may be dated. But something needs to be uplifting here.
Right.
And I'm willing to overlook it.
I mean, thank heavens this is not like based on a true story. This is where it feels like a 90s Disney sports film, right? You make the bet, you raise the stakes. But what I will say works is that you need to tee up that Jimmy is going to get what he wants without him just wearing Saleh down.
Right.
And Saleh being like, fine, I'll go. You need a little bit more of a motivation. Otherwise, we're not going to want to root for Saleh.
No, and you need Saleh to have that moment where he defies his father. Because he says in front of his father, if we win, I'll go. You needed that moment out of him because Saleh's wanted to go the whole time, but you needed that moment for him to become the man that his father wants him to be the leader his father wants him to be, and to do so, he has to defy the chief.
Right.
What I don't understand, and maybe it's just because I'm not terribly fond of this character, Sister Susan is mad at Jimmy because he agrees to coach the team. She doesn't believe that they can win, but she's mad at him over the Chiefs' challenge, to the point where Jimmy tells her, this wasn't my idea, the Chief did this. And she's still mad at Jimmy.
Well, I think the whole thing is that if you never had come here, this wouldn't have happened, and you literally just bet the house.
This was going to happen regardless of whether Jimmy was there, and she had to know that. Niaga had already come after them once. It seems like she was just looking for somebody to blame.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was going to happen regardless. I agree with you there, but not in this way, not over a basketball game. I think, if things were going to come to a head, you would, you'd bet something that was a little bit more of a surefire win for you.
But how else do we get the training montage?
Oh my gosh. See, this is where, because now we've assembled a whole team, and especially that they're going to let women play, which I love. It's also such a great dig when they set it up that we have women that are better players than your men. I wish that we had gotten to know them as characters a little bit more. Like, they sort of introduced them, like the twins, quote unquote. And then you have the that's the thing. I don't even know names because they didn't really develop them at all. Like, you have the one defenseman where Jimmy teaches him to block, but with his body, not with his hands, so you don't know who's coming. So, but I wish we had given them a little bit more. Like, they have a little bit of personality, but you didn't build out the roster. I don't want to keep comparing it to the Mighty Ducks because it's really apples and oranges here. But even for characters that aren't the mains, like everybody has a thing, that they're known for on the team. They all have a strength. So that doesn't really get developed here because Jimmy's showing them what to do. It's not like they came in with a talent like, okay, I can work with this. And it would have shown a little bit more personality for each of these characters.
Well, that's the thing is characters, they're personalities, not persons. To your point, we don't even know their names. And if they say their names, they say it once and then you never hear it again.
No, because they don't even have jerseys.
They
paint the numbers on.
I like that though.
I appreciate it in the sense of they tried to do something that was culturally appropriate when you're having it is kind of a shirts versus skins game.
Right.
But at the same time, this entire film is Disney culturally appropriating, so it's not great.
I love what the air up there means because it seems like an odd title for a film, but I love what it means because you're just assuming it's a joke being played in regards to Salah's height.
Mm-hmm.
But when the injury happens to the point guard and they suggest that Jimmy plays and they say, well, he has to be Wanabe and he has to go on this journey and the journey ends with the air up there because he has to climb this mountain. I like that they tied it in and that it made sense.
Here's the thing. It is shot beautifully. This whole sequence is absolutely gorgeous, but oh my goodness, what a 90s trope of the physical journey that the character has to go on to have this profound realization about themselves. And he takes his, most prized possession, his ring, and I thought he was going to leave it as an offering on the, it's not like a statue, but it's kind of like an altar up there almost. Not in the traditional sense of like, it's not like a table or anything laid out, but there are things that have been left by everybody who has climbed this mountain. I thought he was going to leave that on there, not throw it into the abyss.
Well, he did what he did, and now it's time for the game.
Because he's Wanabe now, and he also goes through the same ceremony that Saleh's brother-in-law did on the night of his wedding, where, and they show it. I think it is worth noting. They don't show it when Kevin Bacon is in the hot seat, but they cut the abdomen, and I think the implication is supposed to be that it's a circumcision.
I couldn't tell exactly what it was. You may be right about that, but then why cut at the abdomen? But the point is,
they're not going to show that.
Well, the point is, yes, he goes through the same thing, and is it far-fetched that the legendary Kevin Bacon is now a member of this African tribe? Yes, but the implication is that the tribe accepted him because they saw what he was trying to do for them. And the other thing that I like is that they didn't try to find a loophole and try to put him on the roster. They are very much a culture that believes in honor, tradition, and keeping your word. The fact that they're willing to put him through this, the fact that he's willing to go through all of this so that everything is by the book, because at the end of the day, they are just a respectful people. That's, I think, more than anything else, as far-fetched as it is, that's the takeaway here. The takeaway is brotherhood and being respectful.
Yes, but the irony is, take all of the cultural appropriation out of it. He's supposed to play. He did all of this so that he could be a member of the team. He's already got a bum knee, and now you're going to slice his abdomen open and expect him to play basketball full force.
Well, he does.
The magic of Disney.
And Ray Fox arrives, because of course he does. And Ray is there to watch the game.
So many of my notes now are, of course, this, and of course that, starting with Ray Fox arriving. Of course they get sneakers to make them play better halfway through the game. Of course the brother comes back.
You needed to have a happy ending, though.
You did. Here's what I was not expecting. Abusing women for the sake of getting the shot of a kick to the crotch.
Would you care to elaborate on that?
Did you miss the part where the Mingori player is grabbing at the... So this is after Jimmy's like down for the count. So they have to start putting other players in. So they put a woman in. And he starts grabbing her rear end. It starts as her rear end. And they show it. In a lot of other films like this, they'll do it as a cutaway, or like, again, to bring it back to the Mighty Ducks, like, you have Connie and Julie getting put down like because you're a girl, and it's just verbal. Here, he grabs her rear several times and the ref is not making a call, and then grabs her breast and they show it. They show the whole thing. And it's like, would that happen in a situation like this because you're taking advantage of a woman? Sure. But what I have the bigger problem with is Disney showing it full out when we would have, in a cutaway, taken away that message. And you did all of this in service of setting up this fake girl power moment because she kicks him in the groin and he falls to the ground. And you did all of that in service for a yuck and trying to play it for comedy when you still could have had that moment without showing a woman being abused.
I didn't see it because, admittedly, I was looking down taking notes during a lot of this game.
It's 3 grabs.
All right, well, I'll take your word for it. They do it in Hollywood behind closed doors all the time, so, I guess.
But that's what it is not okay. It doesn't make it okay at all. And Disney did that, in the days well before there were intimacy coordinators,
right,
to choreograph something like this just for the sake of, don't worry, we'll have her kick him in the crotch and it'll be all okay because we're going to set up that funny moment. But like that's it. You still exploited this actress to play it for comedy when you still could have given her the girl power moment without actually showing the abuse.
Well, all that said, you get the sweep the leg. You mentioned it before. Jimmy gets knocked out. The whole time. Well, here's the thing. The whole time you're thinking he's just going to blow his knee out naturally because where the movie does a good job sort of like deceiving you, the entire movie has been spent saying, you're going to do too much. You're going to overdo it. You're going to injure yourself. You're pushing yourself too hard. And you get distracted from the idea that they may target the knee.
Right.
So
there's another Mighty Ducks comparison for you.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's just my note, and we don't have to talk about it anymore. I like that they sweep the knee.
No, I'm just saying, like, I keep trying. I'm not trying to keep going back to that and draw from it, but that is such a specific thing where they go after Bombay's knee.
So now we're getting towards the end of the game. To your point, Halawi is back playing with the Wanabi. The game's just about over. The Wanabi are looking to finish the comeback against the Mingori. And Jimmy has this moment where he looks at Salah and goes, the bet is off as far as I'm concerned. Let's win this game. You do whatever you want. Because he no longer wants to wager, you have to come back with me if we win. He sees what a unit the tribe is. And I think especially because Halawi has come back. Now the family unit has been restored. Jimmy does not want to force him to go to St. Joseph's. He's leaving the decision up to him.
It's that you've earned the right to choose. But again, this is where it's problematic because the white man stepped in to save the day, and now the white man is giving him permission to choose what he wants to do with his life.
Okay.
I get that we're going for a happy ending here, and you have to have Saleh's character arc land. But again, it's the messaging in this film.
Okay.
They tripled down on it.
Sure. Well, they get their happy ending. And, oh, by the way, if you haven't figured it out, I don't agree with that. Because I look at this as two characters that have respect for each other. That's how I chose to look at this. But we can look at it, well, you could look at it your way. The movie ends with the introduction at St. Joe's, presumably the following year, because we know Ray Fox is going to finish out this season, where Jimmy is announced as the new head coach, and Saleh is there with him to be his star player. Is it a little corny? Is it a little cheesy? Is it the predictable happy ending that we know we're going to get? Yes, but it doesn't change the fact that it is still a happy ending.
My question is, should Saleh have stayed? Because he's earned his father's respect.
I'll tell you why no. He's no longer the next in line. They never say it,
right?
But he's no longer the next in line to be chief because Halawi's the older brother.
Right. And
with
obviously,
Halawi back, he doesn't need to be there.
No, and Niaga's not going to take him back after all of that.
Correct.
That's true. So, okay. So then, yes, he should have gone because this is, he's doing this for himself now.
Correct.
Not for taking it back to the tribe. It's because it's what he really wants.
He's restored the tribe. He's restored the family. Now he can do what he wants. And that's all he wanted to do the entire time was go to St. Joseph's. That was what he wanted the whole time. Let's talk about our cast, starting with the legendary Kevin Bacon as Jimmy Dolan. I really like this character. I think for the comedy, he works. I think for the moments where he needs that self-reflection, it works. I think Kevin Bacon just delivered a very strong performance.
I would agree with that. For as 90s cliche as it gets during certain moments with the drama, some of it was over the top, but like he held enough restraint where I wasn't like rolling my eyes. I think it was a solid performance, and the ball handling with the brace on, I was actually more impressed by than anything else, because that's a big physical demand, and it was believable that he's playing with a bum knee.
Yeah. You've got Charles Mina as Saleh, who is a native Kenyan. I don't think he did a lot after this in terms of acting. I mean, he did play basketball. He did play NCAA basketball. But for a guy who really didn't do a ton of acting, he could have had a hell of a career as an actor. He's so charming and so likable. It's ridiculous.
I believe the only other thing that he was in was Sequest.
Correct.
But it's amazing that he didn't do more, because he's so talented, and you said the operative word, just so charming. It reads through the character and just leaps off the screen.
Mabutho Sihol played Niaga. This guy was great.
Scene stealer. Total scene stealer.
I love these are some of the best kinds of villains, right? Where he's not, he's not out there. I mean, yes, what he's doing is evil, but he's so smarmy and he's so sly in everything that he does. And he himself is so charming that, to your point, he's a scene stealer. He's the type that does everything with a smile on his face.
That's exactly it. He's charming and he knows how to schmooze.
Yeah.
And you just like, it's hard not to like fall in love with him almost.
I know. Halawi is played by Nigel Miguel. Sort of that ominous character. You don't know whether to trust him or not. Doesn't have a lot of lines, but certainly delivers when it matters the most.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is a lot of heavy lifting with very little lines. This performance is all in his facial features. And a lot of times he's wearing sunglasses too. So it's a stoic performance, but it's very, very deep. I wish he sort of had more lines so we could just see a little bit more range, but he does so much with very little dialogue.
Yeah. Winston Nishona plays Yerudu. Again, like, as the chief, you expect the chief to not speak that much. He's a man of few words. He's just going to be that all-powerful standing there, and with a look, you know exactly what he means. They give him a lot of screen time. They give him a lot of dialogue, but the brilliance of it is where they played him for comedy.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to say. This is such a solid performance. Most of the sarcasm comes from the chief, but I like that you also get to see him be a caring husband and father in during the fire, during the game when he finally does reconcile with his son. Great 90s Disney dad that's got that stoicness, but then loves his family so much he breaks for them, and he's able to show how much he truly cares.
Yolanda Vasquez plays Sister Susan, the most useless character in this movie. This character is unnecessary. She kisses Jimmy at the end of the movie just to get that one more deliverable line of only when I believe in it or only when I mean it or whatever in the hell it was. This character is completely unnecessary. She's not going to go to St. Joe's with him. They're not going to have a future together. He doesn't need a romantic interest. This character is completely useless.
You didn't need the kiss at all, but she does have some funny and he needs to be checked. He needed to be checked a little bit. So I appreciate her for that much, but no, the kiss was just totally inappropriate and pointless.
Final thoughts on the air up there.
I'll go first if you want, because I can keep this very short. I mean, out of all the films that we watched this month, I would say that this is probably the worst one because it is so problematic. And yes, I would put it below Double Teamed in that regard. Double Teamed is full of plot holes, but the message that this sends is hugely offensive, and it is no wonder that we're never going to see it on the streaming service. I'm surprised that the legendary Kevin Bacon does not bury this more so, and he's not trying to like separate himself from it. This makes the added scenes in Glory Road seem so much less egregious than we took issue with when we found out what was fabricated. It's a shame because it's shot beautifully, and there are some really, really great performances in this movie, but there are problems with it.
This movie's corny but fun. I think the costumes are great, the makeup's great, the cinematography's great. I think the music is great. I love the score. And their performances are great. I think that this movie has a lot of charm to it. I think if you want to be offended by a movie, you can find something offensive in every movie out there. I went in there looking to have a good time for an hour and 45 minutes. I wanted to watch a fun Disney sports film. And I found it. I found a movie that had characters with heart. I had a movie that was not afraid to address some very sensitive topics that a lot of these African tribes are faced with every single day. We didn't need to see the AIDS and the malaria that you see in every film when they talk about these tribes and the hardships they go through. It's interesting to see that one of their own, for all intents and purposes, is out there to do harm to them, which is something that they do face every single day. Now, if you have an issue with it being Kevin Bacon that went in there to save them and not Samuel L. Jackson, then that's how you chose to to view this film, and I'm just using Samuel L. Jackson as an example of an actor of this time. Kevin Bacon was a bigger name, but Samuel L. Jackson in 1994 was kind of on his way up. So if that's the kind of character, in your opinion, that would have softened the hero and would have made it less offensive, I get it. If it had been Denzel, I get it. But I think Kevin Bacon did such a good job handling sensitive material that I buy that this is the type of thing that would happen. And frankly, it wasn't uncommon because Jimmy Dolan named a handful of native Africans that were playing, like Olajuwon and Mutombo, that were playing in the NBA at the time that the movie came out. So this was really happening, where these NCAA coaches were going into these villages. They were finding people that were, living, I don't want to say in squalor, but it's kind of what it was. Very, very difficult lives that they were living, and bringing them into a Western culture. So if you think that that's offensive, then that's your opinion of it. But the fact is, this is what was happening. It's still what happens with these college recruiters.
It's just the way that they went about it of, we'll make it better. Our way is better. That's the problem.
Well, I thought that this was a fun romp. I think that it's definitely, it's not a family film in the way that Double Teamed is. Because even Chang Can Dunk was a little bit more an older demographic. I mean, a 10-year-old can watch it. It's not offensive, but I don't think they'd understand a lot of what was going on.
I would say Air Bud is like the quintessential family film out of all the ones we watched.
Yeah. I mean, this was Hollywood Pictures. It obviously was aimed at an older demographic. So it's a Disney movie that's not a Disney movie. Should it be on the streaming service? I think so. I don't think it's offensive enough that it shouldn't be on the streaming service. The fact that you've got movies on the streaming service right now, and have since its launch day, that Disney feels need disclaimers and please don't get mad at us, the fact that those live up there and this doesn't, I don't think it has to do with anything that's offensive. I think it has to do more with they don't want to have to pay the royalties to some of these other companies that were involved in getting this movie distributed.
Right, because it wasn't just Hollywood Pictures. Interscope was a part of it, yeah.
But we want to know what you have to say about the air up there. You can let us know on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio, or you can send us an email, monoreelradio@gmail.com. News of the week is coming up, but first, a quick break.
Before we moved to Florida in 2022, Sean and I had been visiting Disney regularly since 2011, back in the days of booking dining reservations 6 months out and paper fast passes. Those were simpler times. Now, the thought of planning a Walt Disney World vacation is completely overwhelming. Between navigating the My Disney Experience app, trying to snag a dining reservation, the ever-changing Lightning Lane system, this process has become so convoluted, and it's only going to get more complicated as Disney expands. Walt said it himself, it's never going to be complete. As your travel advisor, I will take on the stress for you so that you can focus on the magic, those things that made us fall in love with Disney in the first place and keep us coming back. I'm certified by Disney, so my job is to stay on top of all the new information and updates. From planning our own Disney trips and vacations for family and friends, with the combined knowledge of now living locally to the Orlando area, I've been able to navigate every change that Disney has thrown at us over the years, and I'm happy to share my expertise. Yours complimentary when you book your trip with me. Visit monoreelradio.com/travel to get started planning.
Some big announcements coming out of D23 this week. Starting with the legends. I mean, everybody is always excited to hear about who our legends are going to be at the D23 Expo.
I have to say, and we will list them all, but the most shocking one for me was Eric Goldberg. I was like, wait, he's not already in? I thought for sure he was in already.
Well, Eric Goldberg, as you mentioned, is going to be a Disney legend this year. Joining him, in no particular order, Chris Berman, Jerry Bruckheimer, Susan Egan, Anne Hathaway, Bob Iger, Kim Irvine, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the Jonas Brothers, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Alan Tudyk.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Straying from the D23 for a second, because we haven't talked about the live action Moana trailer, and you just mentioned Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We have to talk about it. The flowing Fabio locks.
It's bad.
We couldn't have spent more money on the wigs. Or what? Why does he need a wig? We've changed so much with live action remakes. That's what you decide to do, is the shot for shot, leap out of the animation and onto the screen. We had to make Maui look accurate to the animation. I would have been fine if Maui was bald. Totally fine. Would not impact the character whatsoever.
It's not a good look.
It's bad. It's real bad. It flows. It's the wind in the hair. Oh God, he looks like Gene Simmons. Okay. Circling back to D23, more exhibits were announced. This one looks really cool. This makes me wish that we were going. It's called Uncrated. When they first announced it, I was like, are they letting people walk through the archives? No, they are bringing the archives to the expo, and they're going to have props, costumes, and even puppets on display. So I'm thinking we're going like deep into the vault, because they usually do something like this, right? Like they'll do a costume display. I think it was the last expo. They did a lot of cars, but I feel like we're going to get some deep cut. I'm thinking particularly some of the stuff that we saw on Prop Culture. It's probably going to be Return to Oz, and I'm probably going to be kicking myself. And then another, show that they're doing, this is actually really cool. It's also presented by the Archives, capturing the life of creating a character, the art of live action reference. So they're going to do a behind the scenes look at character animation and show how the photo reference and live performers inspired the animators. So basically everything that we've seen when they used to do the DVD features of the animators, like, looking at a deer and drawing Bambi, they're going to have like an actual exhibit where you get to see that. So that's really cool.
Thank you so much for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Monoreel Radio will always be free, but there are many ways that you can support the show. Please give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Join the conversation on social media at Monoreel Radio on all major platforms. Share your favorite episodes with family and friends who may enjoy them. And of course, book your next trip with Jackie. Links to everything can be found at monoreelradio.com. We all get one story. Make yours a magical one.
On behalf of Monoreel Radio, we'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of.